Thank you.
Yes.
No pants. I made pants and match with you.
Oh, okay.
What are your socks?
Oh, they're just normal. It's been basketball practice, so you're lucky I got no sweats on.
Have you ever met the mayor of Trochu? Barry Klatke?
Did you see that?
Oh,
He dresses that way all the time.
He's
The cat
identified.
tripped me.
I was gonna say, what?
I was running because I had a special errors order that was due today and I had to get it done and I ran into the printer room and the cat went, "Oh, you want me in here, do you?" And right between my legs and I went flying and I hit the wall. I'm on blood thinners, so I just spewed.
Yeah.
Just wait, I'm so pale. In 3 days, it's gonna be black and blue, even though it doesn't hurt, just because reminding me I'm white, very white. Little thin skinned white, you know what I mean.
As soon as Lori's ready and
We're live.
Counselor Olson's ready. Yep.
You ready? We'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. First one I got on time, eh?
Yeah.
We have adoption of the agenda. Champion. All in favor? Carried. We have a delegation from Apex via Zoom, I think, isn't it? Yeah, okay, perfect. Shane, thanks for joining us.
Hello.
No. No. Do you need the motion first, Tim, or?
No, we can do it after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what. The floor is yours, Shane.
Oh, sorry, guys. I thought you adopted minutes and did all those things first. Anyway, thanks for having me. My visit tonight is basically just informational and an introduction. So my name is Shane Milner. I'm the regional manager in Southern Alberta for Apex Utilities. Just want to give you guys a little information on what's going on with our company lately. Obviously, there's been a name change in the last little while. Just a few things are different, but mostly everything is the same. So I'll let you know, in the south part of this province, we serve the communities of Drumheller, Stettler, Hanna, Three Hills, Pincher Creek, and the rural Medicine Hat area. Our mission is to be the clean and reliable energy provider of choice through being a leader in safety, cost effectiveness, and customer service. The safety of our customers, our communities, and our employees is the top priority of our company. We succeed together because we work hard and are good at what we do. We connect across our teams and we respect each other. We strive for clear, transparent communication to customers, employees, regulators, shareholders, and all of our stakeholders, including our municipalities. We provide low carbon energy solutions to our customers and always look for ways to minimize our environmental footprint. I'll let you know a little bit about us now. We are obviously now called Apex Utilities. We were AltaGas Utilities. Apex Utilities is owned by a company called Tri-Summit Utilities. Tri-Summit Utilities, or TSU, is a Canadian corporation headquartered in Calgary, Alberta, with diversified rate regulated natural gas distribution utilities and long-term contracted renewable power generation assets. TSU's two business segments are comprised of utilities that deliver affordable and reliable natural gas to end users in Alberta, British Columbia, and Nova Scotia. TSU also owns a 1/3 equity interest in the utility that delivers natural gas to end users in Nunavut, Northwest Territories. The other side, the renewable energy side, includes 100% interest in the 102 megawatt Bear Mountain Wind Park and an approximate 10% interest in the 303 megawatt Northwest Hydro facilities in British Columbia. So we have branched out as a parent, our parent company, into some of the greener and renewable energies. So TSU is indirectly owned by two large Canadian public investment managers. The Public Sector Pension Investment Board, or PSP, is one of Canada's largest pension investment managers, established in 1999. PSP Investments manages net contributions to the pension funds of the Federal Public Service, Canadian Forces, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the Reserve Force. The other half, based in Edmonton, is the Alberta Investment Management Corporation, or AIMCO, and they manage one of Canada's largest public pools of funds. It invests globally on behalf of 32 pension, endowment, and government funds in the province of Alberta, with holdings that span all asset classes. Basically, that means that we're no longer a publicly traded company as we once were. We're now privately owned. So it gives us some advantages that we didn't have as a publicly traded company. So a little bit about what we're looking at in the future. We know that cleaner energy will define the future, and we are going to try to help to bring that future to life. Our commitment is to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions to net zero by 2030 and help Canada and the world transition to a low carbon energy system. We are actively replacing equipment and adopting new technologies to reduce or avoid emissions throughout our pipeline assets, our distribution system, and with our maintenance and operations processes. We're looking to pursue opportunities to invest in low or zero carbon energy, such as renewable natural gas that may come from landfills, and also the introduction of hydrogen into the natural gas system. And lastly, we want to develop or invest in projects that can generate renewable energy credits or carbon offsets. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. Like I said, mostly just an introduction, let you know a little bit about what Apex is doing. And we certainly hope to continue the relationship that we have with the town of Hanna and its residents. So if anybody happens to have any questions, really easy ones, that would be great.
I think we're all good. Thank you, Shane, for your presentation, and nice to have you in town. And we've got a couple of locals here that actually work with Apex. They're customers that come through my shop, and you're a valuable asset to the town. So that being said, I'd ask that we have a motion to thank Shane from Apex Utilities for updating us regarding the company activities and the name change of the company. Motion, Councillor Kroll, all in favor? Thank you very much, Shane.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Gotcha. Our next presenter is the Hanna Elks. Mr. Thurl.
I put this up here for you, just for you and Andrew.
Oh,
So you better use it. You better use it, Herb.
Oh, seeing it was a real short year of doing anything, that's why I didn't have a whole sheet of paper filled. But the functions that we did there during the shutdown, we had lots of workers out, got a lot of exercise. We made sure we were distanced properly, especially the highway cleanup. We expand out over 30 kilometers, so we kind of fell in the government rules. And we did a couple of extra raffles that we generally never done for a while. Like we did the Stanley Cup pool to help raise extra funds without doing a few other projects. Our Elks Foundation raffle, that's our provincial raffle, and we get 30% back of all the commission sales that we did. Last year we sold 147 books, which was up by 60 books from the year before. So that was greatly our garage sale. We had a great success with it. We approached members of our community plus our Elks members, and happened to be, it was one of the hottest days, I think, sitting outside there. So, but yeah, we raised just over $600, and the stuff that we didn't sell at our rummage or grab sale, we took down to Brooks and sold at the public auction. And that helped clean up, seeing no rummage sale, that's was a downfall. And our Super Bowl raffle last year that we held in February, we're a little upset with the turnout that we had, but we still don't raised $480 with the sales, which that was the first public skating we did for $500 was out of that fund. So, you know, it's only a short term year. And this year, we just raised over $2,100. We didn't quite sell all the tickets. I made a mad dash. We sold an extra 22 ticket books in 2 days in Brooks and Calgary. So yeah, I think we're 36 tickets that we didn't sell. So we had a pretty successful year we looked at. So, and functions that we're going to do this year, we're going to do a walk on May 14th, see on the new provincial coordinator for the walkathons across Alberta. So we're going to host one here in Hanna on May 14th. And the money raised through our walkathon is for the Fund for Children. And over the last 3 years, we've helped 4 kids here in our community out of that fund. So it's something that we've always donated to. And the walk last year was a virtual walk that we did. 7 of us, we raised just over $2,200. And what we did is when we went out golfing and everything, we just kept track of our 10 kilometers that we had to walk. So I seem to walk more because I never follow the same path on the golf course. And the functions that we're looking at doing is highway cleanup again. It's going to be on May 7th. And functions that we're looking at doing is we're going to host a Mother's Day breakfast this coming year. If we have to, it'll be a drive-up breakfast. If we have to do it that way, that's what we'll do. And we're going to do a Father's Day barbecue. And we've been approached by the car club to do the breakfast out there for the car show. So, and what we've donated to this year in our community, we give out 2 annual bursaries to the grade 10 and grade 12 overall achievements. This year we donated to the Hanna Legion for the Remembrance Day program that they held. And we supported the Hanna Egg Society by donating to some of their horticulture and
At the small fair.
in the fall fair, yeah. And we missed out last year. We donated to the Hanna Spray Park there just to help with some of the final work that they did on it. So we had not a bad year. We had a total of 450 man hours, you know, for the short year that we could get together. We met secretly in a couple of places to keep our paperwork up. Because even if you didn't have meetings, but you still had expenses. So on behalf of the Elks, I'd like to make the presentation to the mayor and
Photo op time, Mr. Mayor.
Block time. I really like these.
Thank you very much.
yeah.
Oh, no, you're good.
If you just kind of go up into the corner, I'm gonna go over
Up
there.
by the
like
tree.
that.
Oh, yeah.
We got a tree in the background there.
Sorry. Can I get you to scooch that chair out of the way a little bit?
Scooch.
That's a Canadian word.
Very good. Okay.
And the check will be here Thursday. We have a meeting
In
morning.
the mail.
And you know the treasurer
Famous
fairly
last
well.
words, right? Right.
And before I go, I'd like to thank Gwen for all the years of working with her, so appreciate it, so.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Vern before you duck out of here, buddy? Tell it's not easy.
I'm on my way home for supper.
Brag. Okay, on behalf of John Vern, thank you very much. We need a motion to thank the Elks Lodge 451 for the donation to ensure public seating at the Hanna Arena is free of charge for the 2021-2022 season, and update regarding the Elks 2021-2022 lodge projects. Councillor Campion, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, Vern. Our next presenter is Andrew Wadley. Waldley. Sorry, Andrew. I knew I was gonna screw it up, so.
I'll just stand.
Come on up. Andrew.
Should I give this to the secretary?
Well, just leave it here with me then for now. Perfect.
Perfect. I wanted to thank you. I had sent that handout to everyone with a summary, and I'm completely joined. I think what this council is doing, what the previous council did, is really, it has a lot of foresight in trying to bring in new work to the town, and it's to be commended, but quite seriously. I know there's been a lot of blowback with the initial operations of the plant itself in terms of concerns of odor, concerns with elemental sulfur dust and that impact upon the wider community. But I truly believe that working through operational difficulties is just part of it. So that if we were able to sort of surmount those difficulties as a community, as a council, as the GFL environment itself, then the town is going to be able to go out and literally just speak to people and say that we're open for business. This is what we represent. And we're all stakeholders. We all care. We're not going to sit back and just wait. That if anyone comes forward, we come together with constructive efforts and with some humility as well, that everything's a work in progress. So that's why I'm here today, to offer some humble bit of information if I can, or some perspective. One thing that I've been wondering about, so when I go back and I look at sort of the legislation that's involved, because you're looking at what I'm assuming is a class 2 composting facility, or is it a fertilizer manufacturing?
It's not a composting facility. They do no composting on the site.
They do a blending.
But they just blend.
Yes. And so is it considered a class 2 then, or a class 1?
Actually, Andrew, I don't know what their environmental permit is for. I have to look that up.
Okay, I was just curious about that. With the use of elemental sulfur, it's being used as a buffer, basically to control acidity and the low sulfur content that we have in the soils around the area. It's a really excellent product that can be sold sort of regionally for our area. With it being an open pile zone, there's that concern that it's going to be spread. And as a result of that, unless they have dispersion modeling, there's going to be no way of knowing what the immediate vicinity actually is on any given day, given the geological conditions, right? Wind velocity, wind direction, relative humidity, stuff like that. So as a result of that, with this sort of operation and use of elemental sulfur, the air monitoring directive requires, in association with the Environmental Protection and Enhancement Act, the stationing of air monitoring stations. Was that done with the operations when it went into operation, or with the addition of the elemental sulfur? Because that's kind of the process.
So Andrew, my understanding in the environmental license that they have from Alberta Environmental Parks, there's no requirement.
There's no requirement. The Environmental Protection Act mandates that if there is a hazardous material, something which can be hazardous, it has to be reported to those in the air. So elemental sulfur dust, anything that comes from the oxidation of sulfur, elemental sulfur in a windrow does carry with it risks from AHS itself, as well as from for like livestock, any ruminants like deer in the area, or just the local ecology, the local wildlife. Effects for the water table and that. So it has to abide by the Environmental Protection and Enhancement Act, and with that, then the Municipal Government Act for establishing policies with the municipal development plan for ensuring the safety of agricultural operations.
So all that I can say off the top of my head right now, Andrew, is that I don't have their approval in front of me, but they do have their approval from Alberta Environment and Parks to operate the facility as is designed.
So in order to operate that, they still have to report the release of substances which can be considered noxious. That's required.
I'd have to look at their license. I don't have it in front of me, so.
It's not even within the license, that has to be done. That's mandated under the EPA. There's no choice. So that's part of the issue with the odor, right? Because the odor itself is just a chemical. It's actually a collection of chemicals. So if you have a smell, say, that comes just from the biodegradation of manure, then you're going to have methane. If you have sulfur added into that, you get a whole variety of compounds that are being released that contribute to that. You get dimethyl disulfide, hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, carbon disulfide, carbon disulfide, ammonia, acetic acid, just the list goes on. All of these things pose environmental risks in the area, including for humans, for cattle, for even just structures in the area. So there's a risk to damage. Well, if we take, say, livestock, for instance, with livestock, even with small amounts, something like an ingestion. So you would have 3 different routes that you would have with livestock with this blower. And without air monitoring stations, you have no idea the extent of coverage. So with livestock in this area, there's tens of families just within a 1 kilometer radius of Hanna. With grazing land, you're going to have inhalation, you're going to have the ingestion through grazing with any of the ruminants, and you're also going to have potentially the deposition of that into the pools of water for drinking water. 35 grams per day, 3,000 parts per million in a drinking pond. Just even short exposure or big bursts of that can cause acute toxicosis, leading to death. That's an extreme. But way before that, you can have with cattle, you can have decreased appetite, weight loss, abdominal pain, lesions in the GI tract, rectal bleeding, vasculitis and necrosis of the 4th stomach, neurological deficit. Because when they ingest the sulfur, it's then eventually regurgitated, and in the rumen, it turns into hydrogen sulfide, which is then inhaled into the lungs, diffuses with the cardiovascular system, causes respiratory distress, venous distress, neurovascular, neurological deficits as well. One of the things that we won't see yet, but it does happen, is with cattle. That there is a significant decrease in the birth rate of calves as a result of exposure to something which can be quite minuscule over an 11-day period, say from gestation day 7 to day 18. So this will affect agricultural practices throughout the entire area. And with the municipal development plan that we have, and the plan, it mandates that policies be put in place to ensure the safety of agricultural practices. Environmental assessment has to be done, not just with what's required from the Ministry of the Environment itself. So you can look at that, you can look at the human impact in terms of those compounds that I mentioned. Hydrogen sulfide, 1 part per million, almost nothing. Headache, nausea. You go on from there, sulfur dioxide, 0.1, 0.75, same sort of thing. You take it up to 10 to 20, nosebleeds, respiratory distress, bronchoconstriction, asthma, and it goes on from there. All this stuff is in the binder, and it's all sectioned up, so it's easy to access. You then look at the materials in the area. So anything that's a carbonate stone, anything like limestone, sandstone, marble, even concrete that has a carbonate component to it, even under dry conditions, it will fail. Because anything that has sulfur will react to it, causes sulfate, and then the carbonate is just gone. And so it begins to flake off. Metals, anything that's a ferroalloy, carbon steel, it will corrode. Upon exposure, it will tarnish. Any, there's a couple of other, that's 4 other elements as well. They're less susceptible, but they're in the area. So you have cadmium, nickel, copper, zinc, galvanized steel is going to corrode as well. Paints on the surface that has a gloss, it will discolor it. It will take off the sheet. So the car dealerships, they will be affected. Housing, these stuff of the environmental effort. So my thing when I say all of this is it sounds really negative, but I don't think it is at all. My thought is that I'm not on council, but where I'm looking forward at this, you're going to have situations where if one's proactive, one can anticipate what potentially can be coming down the line. And if the company itself puts in the air altering stations, which are required by legislation, there is no choice on this. Even if they have an environmental permit, they still have to put in that because they have to report to the public immediately if there is a risk to public health and all of IHS. Then you can anticipate moving forward. And then people are not going to be just getting irritated, but coming and saying, well, the smell is horrid. Or now we have cattle bears, or we have sulfur in our reservoir, or something like that. All of this is anticipated, and everyone's working together. And I would hope that people would take that, and instead of having the energy that they throw into being outraged, or angry, or alienated, that they're going to look and say, this is what our town council believes. Let's get behind them. Let's support this effort. Become stakeholders in the entire process and make that really what I look at GFL as an operation, right? With the 12, I think with 12 plants in North America that they're doing, they've had to do some retrofitting in Delta BC with
Delta is a compost. It's not a- Delta is a compost facility. It's not a mixing facility.
but they still have to put in air filtration. Bylaw solution.
Delta's an indoor composting facility.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that they're going to be bringing in, so if you have a structure that's being brought in and shading material to enclose the area, you still have anything in terms of the handling of elemental salt. You still have this dispersion. You still have anything with the biooxidation. All of that stuff has to be monitored and to some degree cleaned and filtered because there are requirements for that under occupational health and safety, worker health and safety, WHS. It's all documented. But again, my point would be that if people become invested in it and say, you know what, here's something, it's like for years, conversations, accumulate, brilliant, right? This is an excellent thing. We repurpose something. We take land, we reduce it, we repurpose it, we make something that's useful of it. And we provide it to our farmers. We survey land and we have areas that can now support more employment. We can stabilize the tax base. There's so much benefit to be had in this. And if people can become stakeholders and not feel, I don't know, alienated in some way, whether it's warranted or not, then maybe if you move forward, you can just, and then it's just taken out to the town, like taken out to other companies and saying, look, you're sort of open for business, and this is what this town represents. And that's about it.
Andrew, I've worked in the oil and gas industry all my life, and Alberta Environment one-ups anything that you've ever done in the oil and gas industry, and I'm not familiar with how it works with the municipal side of things, as I'm fairly new to this, but I'm sure that Alberta Environment has a bigger club to swing than we would on something like that. So if these monitoring stations, and again, I'm familiar with how they work, because we've had them at several different places.
Yeah.
The mine actually has a couple on the very south end, and those are the ones I've seen.
Yeah.
But I'm not fully understand. I hear what you're saying, but if what you're saying is as bad as it is, and I understand the H2S and hydrogen sulfides and things like that. Would Alberta Environment be involved already?
Environment, from what I understand, Alberta Environment has come to a survey. Because they were called in by someone who was having a concern to do an inspection. I don't know what that environmental assessment report does. Regardless, the fact is the fact that you can drive past that, and when you see a dust cloud that is 10 meters tall, that's blowing, you know that people are being exposed. Like it's inevitable. If people can smell it, that's at the very least, it's a subjective measurement. That's then you know people are being exposed. And it's a health, and like I said, 1 part per million, 0.1 parts per million, it's nothing. And then you've got the people out right by the highway, you've got all the different farmers and ranchers in there. You've got the pasture land, you've got the crops, you've got the water table, the reservoir, all of that. And all this would have been known at the time, because this information has been around since the 80s. It's all in peer review literature.
Mr. Waldy, it's unfortunate that, the town has, there was a community engagement with GFL and the community. And it was in all sorts of, it was in the newspaper, it was on Facebook, it was on social media. And it's unfortunate that people don't come to those and bring up their concerns or things of that nature. We, in my opinion, speaking for myself, count on organizations like Environment to be doing that sort of thing. It was never in any intention at all to put anybody that is already operating a business at risk or anything along that lines. There's a reason why to be on council, you have to be a resident. We live in this community as well. We did not want any sort of situation come up to affect those in the surrounding areas. That's why there were conditions that were put into the agreement. And there was never any indication that there would be any animal feces brought into the site. And we were advised that compost that would come to us would not smell. And that was one of our major concerns. Smell, the dust blowing around, visibility, and things of that nature. So this has been something that we've been struggling with for the last little bit. And I believe there are things that are being addressed now, but it's so unfortunate that it had happened in that situation. There never ever was supposed to, never any indication of any livestock feces in the material. And that was what the smell was when it first started. And things end up changing. I had been out there talking to the manager, was told that they wouldn't be starting to deliver until a particular date, and that date changed after the fact. And so there's things that are being dealt with, and it's unfortunate that the public does not get involved and does not look at bringing things of concern to council when what we are trying to do is to bring business to our community for everyone to benefit from. So
this is what my presentation is about.
well, it's just unfortunate that, people never brought it forward earlier.
I didn't say that. I would take umbrage with that. The process that was gone through in terms of the redesignation of the land, that was public. The actual discussion in terms of town presenting, this is not a criticism of the town. This is just a historical record. The town never presented information that I can see to the public in terms of what that plan could be. GFL had their Zoom meeting, right? 20 people attended. Councillor, Councillor Dunlop went to that. So that would be 21 people.
Yeah, I
It was,
there as
yeah, I
well.
think at one time there was
30.
35 or 40 people who participated.
And you sort of unearthed the 20. But when it comes to the minutes themselves, there was no information as to what was discussed in that meeting. For the public to see. It's not the public's responsibility to glean this information. I can do
As
this.
far as getting involved and
You can get
coming and
involved.
asking questions and things of that nature.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that, yes, there's an entire process that's engaged in terms of the redesignation of the condition of violence. That had nothing to do with juvenile. The redesignation process, if you look at the ad itself, is not saying congenital uses. It's simply saying, will we change this from commercial to commercial industrial? No one can say if they're prejudicially affected unless you know what's going in. And no one is knowing what's going in there at that point. It was pretty obvious what it was potentially going in. But no one had information in terms of environmental assessment. There's nothing.
I don't think we had the information at that time.
So then how can people say if they're prejudicially affected? Because no one knows the immediate vicinity. To date, no one knows what the immediate vicinity is because no one knows the dispersion model. Dispersion modeling for any of those compounds that I've mentioned. I know for a fact that, was it Brad Wall, said that we didn't do a survey of the wind patterns here. And how is that even possible? So all you have to do is just call up the website in terms of the government. And I put it in there in terms of the wind direction, the wind velocity at 2 meters, at 10 meters, relative humidity, you know, the particulate size, you know, local topography, you get an idea of dispersion, a rough idea. That wasn't presented to the public, so no one could possibly have known. So why would people come forward? What can they come forward with? This took me, what, a week of reading? Get through just on my lifetime. And it was just a little bit of a glimpse. But with that said, what are they agree with? That engaging the public, which is what I'm saying, I'm not casting aspersions. There's no point to this. There's nothing to cast. This is why I said in my thing, the town council is to be commended, both of them, the past and the present. This is going forward, and this is where we're at. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Mr. Waddy, you got me very confused here. You're saying that you said there that you thought about all this stuff being together and everything, and this is a good thing because this is a product that is used in our industry, in the farming industry, the agriculture industry. Then you turn around and you're saying that because of the feces and things like this, it's the feces, the animal feces, not, you said? But the animal products that are going in this plant.
I never mentioned anything negative about the animal products. I said it can reduce the smell of methane. That's all I said.
Well, I believe that when a cow does its thing in the field, there is methane gas comes off of that. So I'm wondering how many miles around Hanna do you want us to remove the cows in that? So that this is not
See, this is not what I
a
said.
problem. Like
I have not said this whatsoever to answer your question. What I'm saying is, if you want, when you have by law, your municipal development plan explicitly states under the Municipal Government Act that it must contain provisions for the safety and the protection of agricultural practices. So in order to understand the dispersion of these particles, including elemental sulfur dust, there have to be monitoring stations. That is required. There's no debate on that. That is required by government registration, by government regulation. It's the air monitoring directive. All that stuff has to be reported. The health risks have to be reported. Now, with that said, once you establish if there is a concern, right now you don't know if there's a concern. No one does. The only concern people have is the smell that they have, headaches, things like that. But actual concern in terms of how it's affecting livestock with that, house not going to come to you and tell you. But you can do sampling. You can put your stations out where you need to put them based on the technical requirements, chapter 3 and chapter 4. It's right there, chapter 4 is the technical requirements, chapter 3 of the air monitoring directive tells you the site specification and what needs to be done based on the dispersion. So the point of that is that you then change the operational practice to minimize exposure and you keep everything going. And that's where the positive aspect is. Just because it's not necessarily working right now, and it can't be said to be working right now because we're in a state of ignorance in terms of actually knowing. But to say that we know this is working, we know our community is safe. We know that the ranchers and the farmers, that their land is secure and their livestock are secure. That's a good thing. And that makes this a viable approach. Because otherwise, if there are negative impacts, it will come back. It's just a matter of time. No one expected to have the criticism of the smell initially because of the change in the date. You throw some element of sulfur into the mix, and you're going to be getting smells that come off of that. All those chemicals that I mentioned, those compounds, they all carry with them an odor. It's inevitable, especially if it's an open tank. It's a question of concentration. Are there any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, if there's no other questions, I just a comment. I know that obviously this is being recorded in stream, so GFL will be watching it, be listening to it, and certainly they'll provide us a response to Mr. Waldy's presentation and the information, and have further dialogue in terms of what they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing what they're doing, and if they have any sort of rebuttal or answers to some of Mr. Waldy's questions or comments, then they'll be able to provide that to us.
Well, and that was kind of where I was going, like with the comment about Alberta environment. I mean, if they're in contravention of Alberta environment,
Their license, yeah.
yeah, then the monitoring, I understand. But again, if there's certain parameters before Alberta environment gets involved, and maybe we need to check with Alberta environment from a town standpoint, but that, I guess that's probably my feeling would be an importance.
And that's what I'm saying is that it's not, when I say that we are in a state of ignorance, that's what I literally mean, is that we don't know what the current situation is. We don't know what the environmental impact is because we don't know the extent. And so it's not that GFL is doing that practice. It's not that at all. In terms of environment, yeah, they're the ones that are going to be doing this. The director can call for an environmental assessment. That's all under their purview. The reporting of exposure is required by the people who are in charge of the operation itself, directly to the people who may be in the immediate vicinity. And unless you know dispersion, then you will not know who those people might be affected. And that's all I'm saying is that moving forward, if we can have a comprehensive picture, then GFL will be happy, the citizens will be happy, council, as the representatives of the people, have done their work. And we're all on the same page. And this is a good thing. And that's it. And again, as with what you said, I wholeheartedly agree. The more we can get involved with the citizenry, the better it is.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just want to say, I guess it's just going to be another step where we can affirm that our public is safe. And I think that's what the people want to hear, is that, you know what, even though it's landing on our vehicles and we're breathing it in and it may or may not be experiencing some side effects from what I'm hearing, that, you know what, this may or may not be the cause of it. And if it isn't, then we're safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
That's all it is.
And maybe there's some extra measures we have to put in place.
Or maybe it's the company. But then it's maybe the town working with the company saying, okay, timelines, right? The whole delivery process, right? And it says CCAN coming from China. How long does it take? Right now. And they have something coming over because they've got to close part of the operation. They're already making advancements as Councilor Logan has said. So everything is really proactive. I'm just
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate
Just
it.
gotta
I think that's a work.
started.
Yeah. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much, Andrew, and I apologize for butchering the last name, the Lynn like Bobich, I'm fairly familiar with that. So, and if we can giggle about it, we're all good. I need a motion to thank Andrew for his hitting this presentation regarding, okay, motion, Councilor Warwick, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Annie.
I need to help my son with his chemistry. And a Merry Christmas present.
Yeah,
Thank
same
you.
to you. Thank you very
Same to you.
much.
Yeah. Any discussion on the presentations for today? None? Public representation, none?
No, it looks like it's just staff left,
Just
so.
staff left, all the school kids. Okay, moving along to adoption of minutes for the regular council meeting.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 5 sets there.
Do we
Mr.
need
Mayor.
to do them all separately?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm just trying to be taken
I
easy,
know.
Ruth. So I need an adoption for the regular council meeting of November 9th, 2021, Council Modine. All in favor? Carried. Motion for the minutes of the information meeting of council November 24th, 2021. Councilor Kroll, all in favor? Carried. Minutes and special meeting of council November 24th, 2021. Motion, Councilor Olson, all in favor? Carried. Minutes of special meeting of council December 1st, 2021. Motion. Councilor Campion, all in favor? Carried. Minutes of the special meeting of council December 8th, 2021. Motion.
Oh, give it to me.
Councilor Well, I was waiting for you to put your
Your
hand up.
turn.
Councilor Murphy,
I hate fighting.
all in
for
favor?
opportunities.
And carried. Sorry. All right. Accounts payable, you've all had a chance to review it, I hope. Need a motion to accept the accounts payable listings for general accounts checks number 41969 to 42007 and direct deposits 0000665 to 0007728. Motion, Counselor Olson, all in favor?
just, is there,
Nope.
just maybe just, if they have any
Discussion.
questions,
Kind of give that window to take it.
your window was a little tight.
Little tight,
Mr.
okay.
Mayor, so.
A little bit.
Councilor, you got something?
No.
And after all that, it doesn't look
Yeah,
like there's any
exactly,
questions.
so we're good. So Counselor Olson was motion, all in favor? Carried. Trying to get back on time here, buddy. Next. Statement of revenue. Has everybody had a chance to peek at that? Council accept the statement for revenue and expenses for the report of November 2021 for information. Motion. Councilor Kroll, discussion. Patsy. All in favor? Carried.
It's just Lori.
Just Lori, okay. Budget overview. Oh, boy. Council accepts the budget overview for November 2021 for information. Motion. Yeah. Council Campion, discussion. All in favor? Carried. Committee reports. Community Service Board meeting. Council accept the following committee reports for information. Community Services Board meetings dated November 29th, 2021. Motion, Mr. Campion, I guess that would be you to make that motion.
Yeah.
Okay, discussion.
Well, that was my first meeting, so everything went pretty well on there. We have another one coming up here on the 20th.
Not the 24th.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't think you'd be meeting on the 24th.
No, the 20th, yeah. Well, there might be the 24th, there won't be anybody there, but. Yeah. And that, yeah, there was something we discussed the other day. that Wanted me to take to the board.
Fox Lake, okay.
Pardon me?
Wouldn't the Fox Lake?
Fox Lake.
The improvements for them.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
improvement
whatever.
there, but wasn't it about the rate of,
Oh,
The rates, the
yeah.
cost of camping.
Okay, up in the power or the amperage in the breakers and that, I believe, and then we were gonna look at that. Is that what it was? You wanted me to take that to the board?
I think, well, we did have some discussion at the budget meeting just in regards to whether we would be looking at changing the fees or increasing the fees. And we had said that the fees that the board had looked at, they were planning to leave them, recommending that they stay the same as they were in 2020, so. Or sorry, 2021, we're moving into 2022, so.
Yeah, that's what the board had decided, so.
Mr.
I
Chair, if I
can-
might add to that, the camping has been a hot topic when we review rates on a regular basis within the Community Services Board. And we find that we're fairly well aligned within the area with our rates presently. To increase them anymore would put us at a severe disadvantage, given our limited, extra amenities out there. So we seem to have a good clientele now coming, but not much appetite for increasing those fees. And we are in line with other areas at this time.
Yeah, Director Snell, I totally agree with that. That'll be my feeling about it when they take it to the board. Because I think if you start increasing things like that, you're gonna drive campers away rather than trying to attract them, so. I will take it to the board.
I think that was my question, because we were changing it and providing a higher voltage or amperage or whatever. But then it was discussed that is just bringing it up to a bit to the standard that it should be and stuff. So that is kind of a moot point now. That I think we had discussed that and was quite happy with the explanation.
Okay, good, thank you.
Anything else?
Just to again, I also add.
Yeah.
Just while we're discussing the minutes, just I hope everyone did have a note on the Hanna Fitness Center did officially make their motion to disband, which is really unfortunate. That group has been a small dedicated group in keeping that association running. And then they have been a big help to the town of Hanna in operating that fitness center. So the volunteers have indicated they'd still be willing to help us out on an informal basis, but they certainly have done a service for us in that facility since we opened in 2011. And we really do appreciate your support. They've been great to work with the staff, and they've been very responsible and receptive to working within that building. So just wanted council to be aware that those volunteers have been appreciated, and I just take the opportunity to thank them. But if any members of council do happen to see them, I'm sure that Crystal Foshnick and the Patrick and Lauren May, as well as Mr. Russell, would appreciate it if you conveyed your appreciation to them as well.
Okay. You vote on that. You made the motion. I got that big guy.
Is it?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if it's common or a practice that we've ever done, but as a recognition of their service,
those individuals that were part of that fitness center, can we send them a thank you card on behalf of the mayor and council?
Certainly, yeah.
In recognition of the work they've done. I believe there's 4 of them that we are recognizing.
The 4 key ones was the last one, the last man standing, so to speak, no offense to Warren or Crystal, but the last man standing, so to speak.
So if we need a motion, I'd be willing to make that motion if it's just.
No, that's fine. We can do
Okay.
that, Councilor.
Thank you.
We'll make note of that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Senior administrative officials report, council accept the administrative officials report 8-01 to 8-05 is presented. Sorry, jumped the gun. We gotta have the reports first, then we can do that. I'm getting there. Just cut me some slack.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll start. Just wanted to make sure council's aware of the demolition date for the Seymour property. So last I heard, my understanding is next week, they should be starting the demolition. The week of the 20th, their intention would be to basically get the building knocked down in a pile and secured for Christmas. And then after the new year is done, they will be back to town to haul it away. So biggest challenge for us will be following that is trying to fill the hole. So we've been filling any remains, and then that one will have an excavation. But as we get further into the year, obviously our clay pile gets frozen, and it's more of it's a slower process and a more challenging time to be able to do it. But that's the timeline that's been presented in terms of the Seymour demolition. So. Yeah,
CEO, Mr. Neal, could you see if you could get them to move it ahead to the 19th on my 70th birthday? That is a building I paid for 3 times in my lifetime. I never got the title to it, but it would be a remembrance to me for watching it come down.
Okay, I'll advise them, but don't hold your breath.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
It could be hazardous to your health.
So I just wanted to make sure council was aware of that. And the last thing I want to do in terms of orientation with council is, and I know the mayor's been asking me, is we do generally like to set times to do some facility tours. So we probably got at least 4 different dates we'd like to move forward with. And we don't need to set all 4 there, but I'm just hoping that whether the first one we could do would be the morning of January 8th. We've typically done them on Saturday mornings. I don't know if that's good, bad, or otherwise, but January 8th would be a date I'm throwing out there to see if there's any conflicts or issues.
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Neal, is there a reason we pick Saturdays? Is that because there's no business going on those days? There's nobody on site?
I don't know if it's necessarily the full reason. Certainly that helps in some of the facilities, and there's not, work going on, employees working in there that we have to work around. But we have typically, I think, used Saturdays just because it's been easier for people who have been working to not take another half of a day of a work day and do it on a Saturday morning. But I'm certainly open. I'm just throwing that out as an option. If that doesn't work, we're open to any other date. I just, we need to get them started, and you think you can go through them quickly, but once you get in there and see it, and then there's questions, and we want council to have as good an understanding as they do of, the facilities we operate, the equipment we have, some of the issues, challenges, some of the things that are working good, so that you can make better decisions as we move forward. So I'm open to any other date, but that was why I threw that one out to get the conversation started.
What time are you looking
Typically, we've met at 9 o'clock and kind of went 9 till 12-ish. So
Mr. Neal, would it not be more beneficial for us to tour on the days that our staff are there? Or are you answering all the questions or
No,
who's
no,
answering all the questions then? If you have questions?
it'll be whoever's managing that facility. So for example, if we're in a public works facility or the shop, the VIC lift stations, those types of things, generally Director Olson would be the one dealing with most of the questions.
So traditionally, would he be working that day?
No,
So why don't we do it on a day that they're working? Is that a problem? Or is that?
it's not a problem for
rather
us.
than-
We've tried to make it easier for council.
I personally like the Saturday. I mean, I'm running a business, and if I have to take another half a day off to do tours, I'm not opposed to doing it. The Saturday does look better for me, but
If you have any preference, I prefer a Saturday. And it's either, I guess, I donate. Brent works when he's not working, so.
I've been there before. so
I get a vote, he
don't have to
doesn't.
go, so.
but it's changed.
Yeah.
Council Campbell.
No, nothing's changed. It's the same.
So I'm not sure. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Council Murphy, any preference for you?
I'm, every day is a horrible day, so Saturday's fine.
Council Cole?
Yeah, anytime is good for me. I don't.
Okay.
That's
Not here.
flexible.
Yeah,
So is it Saturday, is it council work, is that a no-go that Saturday?
Well,
Or any
what, I
Saturday,
just
or-
wonder, what are the other days? Like, what are all the dates that we're gonna set out? Are they all gonna be Saturdays?
Typically,
in-
that's what,
And will
typically
that be in
that's.
January? Will that be?
Well, I
all
don't
throughout
know if I
January?
wanna, I don't know if you're willing to give up, 4 Saturdays in a row, but I'm thinking if we could do a couple in January, a couple in February, just get the process started. I don't have no expectation that council's gonna give every Saturday, for a month to do that. We'll spread them over a few months, but I just thought whether would be a good opportunity to start the first one, so.
Okay, any more discussion? I think we can at least let it set up the 8th as planned. Okay. We need a motion to that effect? No.
No, we don't need a motion, just put in your calendars and we'll confirm that, that date and that time, so, and where we're gonna go.
What facility will that be?
And we'll see who staff and where things are at. So it'll be one, I kind of broke them up into what I thought would be a 2 to 3 hour timeline. So in the report, and the water treatment plant, I think is an excellent tour. I have talked to Mr. Carl. He's not planning, I think a few years ago after elections, he did a full tour, but I think it was in the spring, and he took all of the commission members out to the raw water reservoir and did the whole thing. No, when I say raw, that's the regular water.
Oh,
It's
well, I
not-
thought
it's
you
not-
meant the
it's not the sewer,
Okay.
It's the,
Started doing it, started reserve fund when-
So-
You get
Garth didn't anticipate doing anything there just from his board. He had very little turnover on his commission board. But he said he would do a tour of the plant for us anytime. And I do truly think it's very interesting to see how we treat our water, and water is a resource and it's important to our residents. So I think so I haven't got a date set up with him, but he said he would make himself available. So we start on the 8th at 9 and we'll let you know where we're gonna go and go from there.
It's like the cash bomb, surprise.
Yeah, a little bit. We'll let you know where though, so. And just so council's aware, for holiday hours, so the town office and public works will be closed on December 24th and 27th in lieu of the 25th and 26th. And we will be closed obviously on January 1st. So The arena in Centennial Place will be open on the 24th and 25th till noon. Sorry, 24th and the 31st till noon, and close the 25th, 26th, and the 1st. And Public Works will have there's always a staff person on call in the event of an emergency, so we were able to respond in that case. So we will be closed. The town office, we're obviously closed. Sorry, that should say I have a typo too. Sorry. January 3rd is when, rather than January 1st, of course, we're closed on January 1st, but we'll be closed, town office and Public Works on the 3rd in lieu of the 1st. So the 3rd is the Monday. We are open on the 31st because we have a tax payment or tax penalty that will go on January 1. So we make sure that the office is open until 4:30 on the 31st, so no one can say that they came to pay their tax arrears on the 31st and they're closed. So I just wanted you to kind of know those are the holiday hours that we will be following. And I don't know if there's any questions from council. Do my best to answer.
For the Seymour, when it's a big open hole, what's the restrictions? Like how long can we just leave fence up around it?
Well, our goal will be to get in as soon as we can after the pile's removed.
Like, is it worth putting an effort to get the frozen pile torn apart and in there? Like when you said it's gonna be hard, it's gonna take
Well,
time, wouldn't we just leave fence up until it's?
There would be a cost to leave the
If we're
fence up,
allowed.
but
Yeah, we would have to look at our own cost or our own fence compared to leaving the
rental
fencing. It all depends on how we want it as compaction. If it's frozen, of course, we're gonna have to dig it with a ripper, haul it in, and then it's gonna settle lots. So we can either have depends on how bad we want it compacted properly. We can do our best with the wheel loader. Like my plan is I'll have a loader there and the whole ripping and the loader loading, and then the loader can push it and wheel pack it as he goes. But it still will be, it's just like a winter dig, the pumps, they don't
pack very well.
So that is an option, and I was thinking about that, looking at what the cost would be to talk to them to see about leaving the fence up so that we could do it in the spring. The problem is, depending on how much snow we get in the spring, and the yard's really muddy and the clay's muddy,
And the hole's full
it
of
could
water.
be the whole full of water. We might be better off to fill it, let it settle, and then pack it. You get
More in the spring.
During the spring and go from there. As long as the weather doesn't get crazy cold, -30, I think the hole with the ripper will be able to rip it up and haul it. As long as touchwood, we don't have any other issues come up and snow.
Pile should be relatively dry too, if it's not having the moisture the last.
Some of them are dry, but even the dig we had on Monday, it was tough going with the loader to get dry stuff. So we'll do our best to do whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were allowed to just leave fence and call it good.
You can, we have to inspect it and make sure it's well secure.
More secure than it is right now anyways, I'm sure. It has been for the past 50
it's
years.
just liability, right? So, and that's the unfortunate part. You can have a fence up and have it signed and everything, but if someone decides to go through the fence or go over the fence, we're potentially still liable, so.
If anything, Councilor Olson, I would like to try to get it at least half full. If you get it to about that 4 foot and then decided to snow fence it or whatever, at least then your liability is a lot less.
Right.
And then we
At
can.
least they can
pack
get
it.
out after.
Yeah, and then you pack it from 4 feet up, you can pack it really good and it'll give you a nice solid structure.
Yeah, leaving an open hole.
Put some ladders in
It's not
there.
in-
Well, you don't have a risk of water, you know.
Okay, so that's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Next on the agenda,
Director of Business and Communication.
Over here in the corner. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I had said in one of my first report, that I would not be providing a report every month. And I rarely, if ever, never provide a 2-page report. So I just started looking at stats and just kind of fell into a rabbit hole that day with numbers, and that was only specific to the website. The ones that I've provided to you, however, are ones, high-level ones that I try to keep an eye on every few months, probably 3 to 4 times a year, just a quick check to see what's happening. A couple of months ago, there was a milestone that was reached in terms of devices that people are using, which has a huge impact on our website. Up until then, the majority of users were still using a laptop or a desktop, but that changed. Consistently, mobile devices are using our website more frequently. I believe that's a result of the change to the new website. It renders better on mobile devices, but it also is a lot more work to make sure your website portrays properly on desktop, laptop, tablet, phone, to anticipate how people are going to be using it, let alone what browser they're going to be using. And yes, there's not enough time to do it for all at one time. So you just kind of try to do the best you can do, and hopefully people are able to read the information once they do find it. If I was interesting how people are getting to the website, with the majority being a direct link back from Facebook, that's a reflection on a different practice that I've taken recently in the last few years, where we try to push all of our marketing right back to the website. So that is working, and as a result, then people spend a little bit more time on the website looking at information or whatever they're looking for. I don't have anything further to add. This report is very specific to what's going on the website. So if anybody has any questions about that or questions about the department, I'm happy to answer.
Just out of curiosity, the 4% from the USA and 3% from China, what were they looking at in particular? Do you know?
It could be something random. We have so many pages and so much information on our site that we should quite high in the Google searches. So I mean, it could just be random. It could be, Kyle can speak to how our internet or email addresses are constantly, what's the word, looked at by China.
So US said that could be a snowbird potentially when they were down there?
Oh, potentially, it could absolutely be.
Okay, no, just,
Yeah, and it's all based on, I mean, it's just speculation and a best guess. It's low, there's often higher in the US.
No, it was interesting. I was just
Yeah,
kind of
and the
curious.
Philippines was always number 3 up until recently.
That's, yeah, I find that weird that would drop, especially with the,
It may just be a glitch the time that
yeah.
particular day that I looked.
Laura, you said on here they spend an average of 1.36 minutes.
Yeah.
That's only how long they're on there, just
Yeah, and that's a pretty good,
really.
yeah.
I would think if I went on there and looked for something, I'd be there for now.
Well, and if people have to do that long, so that's the whole idea, is you want to be able to get that information in front of them right now, so they don't leave, because if they can find it easily, they'll stay and do their research.
Well, and some of that, just to speak to the way it's calculated, like it's whatever their formula is, the seconds per click. Right, so if you're interacting, it shows you're on that page. So if you click once on a bylaw, you're going to be there longer than that, but it doesn't know how long you view the content once, and then that's how it'll track it. So I mean, I can't get through many bylaws in maybe 30 seconds.
1.36 takes me that long to read that long.
That's
So
an average. Some are gonna bounce on and then be gone in 3 seconds or less. And some are gonna be there longer. An average, it's just a reference point and it's an average. Our average did go from 1:22 up to 1:36. I see that as a positive. Probably as good as we're gonna get.
Oh, it's some interesting information. Sure.
If it would be possible, apparently I'm listed as brass champion on one of the committees, and
Oh, yeah.
a person was kind enough to post it online after texting me and then posted it to everybody, so that was lovely.
Yeah.
So if that could be fixed, I would
That
really
has been
appreciate it.
fixed. My
Thank you, dear.
apologies.
Oh,
My apologies
no,
for
it's-
that, Councilor
no,
Murphy.
no.
It's one of those human mistakes. I copied the previous and went in and changed.
I do it every day. Thank you
Things
so much.
and yes, unfortunately. And I did have, somebody point that out to me, like within seconds after it went out.
Isn't it wonderful?
How the website works, and this is purely just because it's time and efficiency. When we put out a news article, for lack of a better word, at hanna.ca/news, that triggers the email program, and the email program says, oh, there's something new. And that evening, then it sends out an email with that something new. Internally, we let that email sit for anywhere between, if we have enough lead time, 24 to 72 hours in people's inboxes before we post on social media. And the link that we post on social media then is a direct link to the website, not to the newsletter that you get in your inbox. So that particular one had been scheduled to go out on Sunday evening, Saturday evening, Sunday evening, I think is what I thought. What was incorrect. And it did go out and it pulled the information from the website and put it to everybody's inboxes. That's when I got alerted that it was a mistake. Of course, by the time it's in their inboxes, there's nothing I can do about that. But I did go immediately and change it on the website. Once we do that post to social media, anybody that takes a look at it further will definitely see that it has been updated, but unfortunately, just to the few hundred people. So it is not the first. I guarantee you it will not be the last.
My apologies.
I thought it was cute.
No.
Oh,
I said, oh, brass has more hair and it's a little bit whiter.
Yeah.
But by all means, if
Maybe
you
last
do
week.
see an error or mistake or something, please don't wait until the next council meeting to bring it up.
Oh, it was so not a big deal.
There.
Mayor, I just had a question too, just with going through the security awareness training. I'm getting, it's not, my computer system's not, because it's saying, I've gotten through parts of it, and it just automatically, and it just shut, I'm like, well, let me go. I don't know if this is something that I should work on.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't, that's something I haven't.
Say, I got you first one.
And I have my husband's support on doing it. It's like, I'm not letting him go through. It's all new, and he doesn't want me to, you know. So that might be coming my way, so, okay.
Thank you. Director of Community Services.
Because I kind of feel like I've got. Council members. No, good here.
Pulpit.
Not shy, obviously. Just a couple of updates from my report. I wanted to follow up on first Kim's comment about the facility tours. And the danger is, especially with the facilities with community services, oh, we've seen them. We know what the arena looks like. We've been in the community's Centennial place. We know what it's like. We've been at the ball diamonds. We've played on them. We know what it's like. But when you come and you listen to the staff and you hear their concerns or what their projects are, and you look at them differently, you'll see that the infield on #1 Diamond is in fact a lot lower. And that's why Municipal is wanting to build it up, and we have a plan to work with them on that. And when you go through Centennial Place, the architects come back every year and tell us how great it is, but there's a few little things that we'll want to point out. So one of the things I know you discussed in budget deliberation is why are we replacing the flooring in the fitness center? And that's because when the flooring was first put in, we put the same flooring in the fitness center that we put in the field house. Great flooring, same flooring that's on the track. It doesn't work especially well when you're lifting weights and deadlifting in that room, and it's really become cut up and quite marred. And that was one of the areas we were wanting to work with the fitness center to obtain grants to replace that flooring to something a little more durable. So staff will be able to point that out to you. So I encourage you to take that opportunity. I know it's a Saturday morning and, you know, you've all been at the pool and you've all seen the arena and you all know what it's like, but you're gonna hear a different side of it from the staff. And they're really knowledgeable on the operations. So that's my plug for definitely taking part in them. The other thing is, I know that Public Works is on call and they do a great job on that on weekends and on holidays. I want to assure council that community services staff will also be checking on the arena ice plant. So we are required by law to have that plant checked during times when we're closed. So we will be closed for those 3+ days during Christmas and New Year's, and our staff will be going and checking on that. So it requires us to have a man go check that, do the readings and do the recording and check on that. So we're closed, but we're always there making sure things are done. And that's a comment for all of the staff within the town. We've got Croaky Curl coming back this year and we're kind of excited. I've made the comment that I'm a good media department. I like to have fun. And Croaky Curl was kind of a fun thing that started last year. When our staff got the handmade rocks out this year, they made them out of, I think they were stainless steel dog bowls. And we have these handles on them. But because they were used and slid across so much, we actually found they weren't thin and some of the sand was coming out of them. And so we are actually ordering, and it's through our Hanna Wellness grant, Hanna Wellness Network grant, proper Croaky Curl rocks through Thompson Curling Supplies. So I'm excited to see them.
Nice. I didn't know they had them.
I had to kind of laugh because I asked Kevin today, where are we at with those? Have you got word on those? Because they just started to flood it today. And council should also be aware, our department works very well with our fire department, and the fire department is helping us with preparations for Fox Lake, doing the ice pond out there again this year, helping flood that, and they'll be helping us with Croaky Curl. And but I asked Kevin today, have we got the rocks coming? He says, I phoned them to see if they were coming, and Kevin Martin phoned. And told me that, no, they were coming. So Kevin says, do you need us to send something? Do I need a credit card for you? Oh, no, I've been to Hanna many times. I'm good with Hanna. We'll just send them and we'll invoice you for them. So I thought it was kind of cute. I think our curling club will be happy to hear that because I know he has been here a few times and like to hear it. So that was good news. The outdoor arena is also, Kevin got a picture of it, shot it to Laura, she'll be doing her social media post with that. So we're starting to flood the outdoor arena. So while everybody's not real happy with the polar weather, it will allow us to do the Croaky Curl in the outdoor arena. And the outdoor arena, our crew mainly does that. The Fox Lake skating area really takes some coordination between Public Works, our department, and the fire department. It's a lot of extra work, and we as a department heads looked at it, and I said it's really well received. When the fire department comes out and puts a nice flood on it, it does make a nice area for skating, and people enjoyed it last year. So we're looking forward to that. In your grants sections, in the section of my report that spoke about the grants, the medically at risk driver center, that's the grant that we got for $15,000 to help us with transportation. And we've struggled with that one because we've got $15,000, so do we just take that and provide subsidies and it's gone after the year? How do we do that? And in the research, we actually contracted Kim Barth, and she did a fair bit of research in the last 3 months. I've been working with Michelle Taves to take over that program. And what we've come up with, it's a new program. Well, it's been around, it's a new old program. It's been in Edmonton, but they're getting a mandate to go province-wide, and it's called Drive Happiness. And the Drive Happiness program will allow us to register our community. So if Andrew Warwick comes in and says, I'd like to be a volunteer driver, I'll say, great. Here's the form, we'll get you to sign up through the Drive Happiness. They have a flat rate to help with the cost of gas. And it connects, and then maybe Rhonda Lund needs a ride, she'll put her name in, they'll sign up through the program, and it connects people with drivers. And so they'll do the scheduling, they'll help with the volunteers. They actually help with doing the volunteer screening for our drivers and the people that are in need of a ride. So we're just on the cusp of looking into that. We think it's a great program. It also was recommended to us through the AHS recreation therapists that are just coming in the area. And so we're looking for that too. We don't want to replace what's already happening. We've got some great volunteers that are helping people out, but we know there's a lot of people that are struggling looking for rides, and if it wasn't for the very few people who are providing that service, and one of them I know is Counselor Pearl. I know I had a lady say to me this fall that she moved to Hanna to retire, but she was looking at moving because she'd come across medical issues and found she couldn't drive, and she was having to ask neighbors and sort of acquaintances to drive her. And she said, it's just too much, and I'm actually moving. And she didn't move from our community. So she was a single woman in her 60s. So it was unfortunate, and that's not what we want to see. And so we know it's an issue. We want to set something up where we have a good caring community. We have people that are willing to help. We just need to connect them up and get people willing to register as needing a ride and people willing to register as volunteers. And then we're looking at how we sort of care for those volunteers on a local level, because Drive Happiness can do their thing. We still need to sort of nurture and care for our volunteers at the local level. So we're looking at how we can do that.
That's one thing I think we do need to do a better job of marketing that program.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And they will help us with Drive Happiness. It's got a whole marketing thing. We'll be working with Lori on that.
So you haven't implemented the program yet,
No.
Mr. Mayor. So
We're just about ready.
when we do, definitely we have to
Yeah.
make sure people are aware.
And Michelle and I talked, that was one of the things we had a conversation with him was, how do we get it marketed? How do we get it ready for marketing to provide it to Lori so that it's ready to push out? And we want people to feel a comfort level. So we still think we're gonna have people coming into the office, needing help to fill in the forms, asking questions, needing more information. We can do all that. We've done it with the volunteer income tax program. People didn't know what to bring. We had a little checklist. Here's what you do, here's what you need, and we'll help you. And yep, you got it all, good job. So we can do that with this as well. And I think it's a positive for our community. So we're very much looking forward to that. So you'll see that coming out in the new year. Michelle will head that up. But I think it's good. It's good news for us, for sure. And the other item that I know that you're all wondering about is the ongoing community center grant. And we are still working on it. I have a call into my contact with MPE. They were tied up with another grant. So we're working on that still. If that's ready to bring back to council, we will bring that back to council. I'd be prepared to attend the January council meeting and explain that grant and do an overview for council so that you're comfortable with that, because it is or was a $1.3 million renovation grant, and it came with considerable federal dollars. And if we're still in the running with that, we still want to make sure we can grab those dollars. And lastly, the other grant that I'm working on and just sat through a webinar on, and our CAO was kind enough to forward me the email, and knowing that I can't stand to leave a carrot sitting there. We applied a few years ago for a New Horizons grant for a seniors coordinator, because that area, of course, is very much in need. And they've opened it up again. So we do fit the criteria. I had a conversation with Dean Coach today and asked if he would provide us a letter of support from the pickleball club in Hanna here, just for terms of Hanna FCSS. And our intent is to be able to look at supporting activities that promote the aging and wellness, aging in place and wellness, but also looking at some of those supports that are needed for seniors. So it's just $25,000. And I say just because you can't hire a full-time person on that. So I suspect it'll be some contract work and something that Michelle will have to work and coordinate. But it will be a benefit to our community. So that one is due just before Christmas. So
21st.
Yeah, it'll go in. So you'll see that go in hopefully the end of this week. very quick. So I think that's the highlights of my report. We are fairly busy, good crew, good things happening. I know a few faces were at the Dr. Jody Carrington event. We kind of took the gloves off on that event, and I'm happy to say that. And initially was supposed to be Dr. Jody Carrington was coming to speak. That was it. And when we sat down as our team, I said, our community needs some good news here. Let's get some entertainment. Let's get some food. Kudos to the fire department for operating the cash bar. And I think a number of people mentioned in their reports, it was a good evening, and it is a good reflection on what your FCSS Family and Community Sports Services does for your community. It's preventative social services. And it's hard to put your head around it because it's not a culvert and it's not something, tangible, but it is something that the community, it's your quality of life in your community, and it's providing the supports for people. And at a time when we need some positive, that listening to some music and all those, I think Kyle and Clark were one of the few guys. If it wasn't for the fire department guys there, they'd be totally outnumbered because there was 170 tickets and I think 165 of those were women. But I had to think there was 170 people that went home with a little different view on the world and a little happier outlook, and that's good for our community. So it's easy to see the FCSS impact on an event like that. You don't see the calls that we get during the day asking for a snow angel, and we're connecting up with a volunteer, and it took me 3 connections today to get a snow angel to go help a person. But they're there and they're working, and so we also do that legwork that makes it a positive place to live. So if there's any questions on the department.
Maybe, I guess on the note of Dr. Jody Carrington, I enjoyed my night at Ladies Night. It was good.
It wasn't a lady.
This is more for you, Mr. Neal. The community service or the community center renovation, I think, was before I was on council last term. We started. It's a super important building. It's in desperate need of some work. There's still, I assume, MSI funds allotted, some kind of unreserved or reserved.
No, we don't have
Okay.
any. We,
Is it solely the engineering so far?
if Councillor Olson remembers, we did originally have some dollars allocated out of MSI in the event that we would have got a federal grant that we applied for 3 or 4 years ago that we didn't get. When we didn't get that, because that'll be the federal grant will be the kickoff to make the project viable. We reallocated that money to Second Avenue infrastructure project last summer of 2020 to get that fixed. But certainly, council will need to be prepared to put some dollars toward it. Hopefully we can get, the federal grants are generally a little more attractive because they're generally looking at paying 50–60% of the cost. So they're a big partner in it. Then we have to do our work to find the 40 or 50 left. And I know had discussions with special areas at the time. I think they would be prepared to provide dollars as well. It's just going to be a matter of getting the project off. And I know even last time we did have an open house. We went through it, and I know if some of you on council may remember that there was some negative feedback about renovating the community center from our public. Not that they didn't think the project deserved it, but we were right at that time in the midst of the power plant. What's the future of the power plant, where that's going to be? And we had a large segment of our community that was saying we need to hunker down, pull in, hunker down, and we've got to spend money on basics. We can't necessities. But we didn't get the federal grant, so it didn't move forward at that time. I'm sure, and it's interesting because you'll go in that building and I have people who will come from out of town who will come in and say, oh, this is a nice building. And it's well maintained.
Did they use the
Keep it up.
bathrooms at all?
My comment, Counselor Olson, is the bathrooms are functional.
Yes.
They're dated and aesthetic wise, the lobby, the washrooms, that whole end is definitely shows that it was built in 1980.
They're functional for the eighties.
Yeah. And I think the kitchen, we've had some of our contractors that use the kitchen have voiced some concerns with it. So the big discussion, I know last time, was whether we stay within the existing envelope of the building or whether we do an expansion outside. And the council day, we submitted an application for the expansion and for the big project, hoping we get federal dollars. And if we did, we may have to rescale it and look at it. So we have a lot of the basis there for the plan moving forward. It's just, we'll probably have to review it and tweak it again. And as we move forward, maybe have another open house with the community and get their thoughts on it. But we definitely, that will be something that we will have to come up with some dollars to move it forward if it's a priority of council. So.
And I can certainly send those, plans, Plan A and Plan B to the present council now. It's worthwhile to review it. And if you have questions, I can give you an update. For example, the washrooms that Councillor Wilson speaks about, they were definitely built for the 80s. So if you have, some of you, half of you will not have been in the ladies' washroom. But if you are having accessibility problems, you go all the way down a narrow corridor by the sinks to get to the larger stall at the end, which is not large enough for some of the motorized things that we have now. And I know personally, my husband has a walker and he has difficulty getting into the accessible stall in the ends. So it's just very cramped and very difficult to move in. And so, and we've talked about the things of chair storage and where does that go? And how come we always have to have 200 chairs behind the center event? And so the committee did a lot of work looking at it and looking at, sanitation of dishes and having those through dishwasher. So I will definitely send that out to council then with your permission, CA O'Neill. And yes, there's definitely going to be controversy when you have the big ticket items. And I think back to Centennial Place, lots of discussions. That building grew in price, but it is one of the best well-used buildings. And even now in still COVID times, it's nice to be able to have a couple of happy hockey coaches that said, we want to do some warm-ups. Is there space we can use? We've been using the walking track, but I want to do a little bit more with them. And I was able to say, yeah, we can let you use the music youth room. There's nobody in there. You're going to be there for 20 minutes and then you're up on the track. So everybody's using it and enjoying it. And it's a well-used and appreciated facility now. Nobody thinks twice about it, but it was costly.
And the cost is probably gone up considerably as well.
But we have some good news coming later with the Centennial Place, which is nice, and on the agenda. So,
With the fitness group shutting down, is that going to limit us with grant applications or?
We'll have to be a little more creative on how we go after those. I mean, obviously, we've still got a good friend in Bern.
Yeah.
We can ask the Elks if they'd like to adopt that project. They could certainly apply for a grant on that behalf and look at working with us to put the plan in. We cannot apply for lottery.
No, and that's why that was my concern. I know we can't, but.
Yeah. We had a half-finished application, but when the volunteers say they're done, I had to respect that.
Oh, no, and I understand, I fully understand. I mean, you get to a point where you just burn out. And, no, I'm not belittling anyone. I just, yeah.
Yeah, we can work with others and even, I know that's one of the conversations we've had with Municipal, for example, too. they have still talked about doing renovations, and I indicated to them, you're gonna have to come to the plate with dollars before you come to council. And you're gonna need to apply for some funds and, friends with a few of the executive, I did make the offer that I'm still willing to work with them if they wanted to put a grant application together and do that before I roll off into the sunset.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I'm not doing a swan song. I am planning on being done on the end of December, but you're just gonna see my face coming in the room. So you're around town. so.
You're still stuck seeing us all over the
Yes.
place. Adrian, I think, is next, right?
He's chomping at the bit. He's got the big smile. Like, go ahead, just ask me, please.
I'll stand up here, so hopefully you won't have to crane around and everything. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As this is my last council meeting, with your blessing, I would like to share a few parting words and thoughts. As you know, I've reached a milestone, an important milestone in my life, with the conclusion of working for the community here. And if you'll bear with me, I'd like to read this because it'll keep me from babbling on. So I'm not the best public speaker. So it is with a little pride and joy and a touch of sadness that I find myself at the end of my tenure with the town as Director of Protective Services. Many years ago, when I was in high school, and then that's many years, I was told by a guidance counselor that I could expect to change my career at least 6 times during my working lifetime. As I close out my time with the town, I can confirm that he was right on the money, as this is my 6th job that I consider a career. When I look back over time, I can confidently say that I have been blessed with the ability to make a good living in both the private and public sector, each one having its great rewards and occasionally some unique and sometimes punishing challenges. I feel that I have survived both realms and have gained a wealth of knowledge and experience along the journey. It goes without saying, both careers allowed me to make many friends and no doubt the odd enemy. People told me when I first started with the town, I must be crazy taking on the bylaw enforcement part of the job, as surely it would be a career ending and friend eliminating decision. I feel that I was lucky to have some good advice from fellow officers in the bylaw business that told me early on the best approach was to follow 3 simple steps when dealing with contentious issues: communication, education, and when those methods are not enough, enforcement as a last resort. I believe that was good, sound advice, and feel, for the most part, just helping people understand what is expected of them from a municipal standpoint of view is 95% of the battle of compliance. Helping folks navigate through the rough waters of bureaucratic red tape and municipal law was and always had been my goal. As for my time with the town, I can state unequivocally, I am most humbled and extremely grateful for the friendship, guidance, and tutelage that I have received from Gwen, Brent, Lori, Winona, and my other fellow members that I have had the privilege to serve with as industry partners and municipal leaders. Without their help and support, this job would have been a lot tougher. I would, however, be remiss if I didn't single out my dear friend Rhonda as a wonderful guiding hand and confidant. Her level-headed and stoic patience helped me make it through the years by always having time to stop everything in the busy day. And graciously,
Yeah, take the box down there.
There's another one.
and graciously and without hesitation supply boundless knowledge and expert advice on all things municipal and on occasion matters of the heart and family. This job has given me numerous opportunities to broaden my horizon, meet interesting people, and learn many things along the way. I never dreamed that I would be the Director of Emergency Management. the enormous responsibility of knowing that when the brown stuff hits the rotating device, I was ultimately in charge of everything. I can assure you that responsibility has occasionally caused me to have a few sleepless nights and question my own sanity. 17 years flew by unbelievably fast. I am very proud to have been a part of a truly great organization that many times felt more like a big family rather than a cold bureaucratic operation. I can assure today's council that you will not find a more dedicated and hardworking group of people than the staff of this great institution. Thank you to the past and present councils and CEOs Kim Neal and Geraldine Gervais for my time here. I wish the best of luck to all of you who I know will, through your commitment and dedication, continue to make Hanna a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family. In conclusion, I say farewell, but fear not, my journey is not quite over, as the next phase of my life, which by the way might be the real challenge and test of my strength, will be to tackle the infamous honey-do list that has accumulated over the past couple of decades. I'll be busy for sure, and I know I probably won't live long enough to accomplish all the things that I want to do and all the things I should do. I wish you all a most Merry Christmas, and may you be healthy, happy, and prosperous in the new year. Thank you.
That's me treasured if you're listening. That was good.
Thank you.
I thank Adrian, and most of those topics that he hit on about enforcement and education, I was a candidate for a lot of them, and I do appreciate the way they were handled, and it was good. I do appreciate that. Adrian.
Thank you.
I know we bumped heads a couple of times, but we got through them, right? So,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. Any other comments for Adrian?
Thank you for your years of service and dedication to the community. Hanna.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Well, I'd say something, but I can't.
Later.
There's no crying on council.
Okay, Brent, you get to follow that.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
Well, in following,
He has nothing to say.
All's good.
I have nothing further to add to my report, Mr. Mayor. I do want to thank Gwen and Dean for assisting me when I did join as well, and I hope they have a great retirement. And I wish Mayor and councilors Merry Christmas. And Happy New Year.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
If there's any questions.
Any questions for Director Olson? Boy, you're getting off lucky.
Good float. Good parade. Everybody.
Yeah, good break.
Can I add something about the float? It's a personal comment.
Okay.
In Director Wilson's report, he indicated that the reindeer came from Clark and Gwen's Snow. But in fact, the reindeer were made by my dad. So it's extra special for me to see them. And I have taken pictures every year, sent them to my kids in Toronto and Japan, and they're over the moon that they're being used and appreciated and loved in the town of Hanna. So
Nice.
that's just an extra little background for you to know.
You don't want them back, do you?
I actually might end up painting them in when I retire. I'm considering that this year. I can come out and have coffee with the boys and paint the reindeer.
Santa loves those.
Santa loves them.
Santa does love
Okay. Thank you, all of our administrative official. Need a motion to accept senior administration officials report 801, 805 as presented for information. Also vote. All in favor? Carried. moving on to a recess. Okay, I was picking up now, Council Warwick, so we'll recess for 5 minutes, 3 minutes.
Sure.
Okay.
And there is some water here. If anybody needs the water, there's some waters over here, so.
I do really don't.
This way's shorter.
I thought I could take that.
You could, I just told you.
Any more? Mayor Foster?
Yes, please, thank you.
Your thoughts? Anything?
Can I just go back and get Danny? Here.
No.
No.
Okay.
Would you like one?
No,
I know you told me that. I still just
No,
go
I
back
didn't
to
tell you
you.
that. They told you
I
that at
know.
the convention.
I keep asking that question.
Oh, no.
Is it very?
Never, yeah, you would.
Yeah, I know. Can I just go
There's
back?
all kinds of.
Oh, yeah, many micro.
That's what I said. with mine.
Yeah, last time I opened that
And I'm
up,
not.
seen your picture, my name.
Oh, that was, yeah, Paula texted
And I
me.
like I said,
And I said, you know, it's not that big a deal. I said, don't make it big. Well, I.
Well, I felt so sorry for
You
you. Because of course, they grabbed me to come down and watch you guys were playing hockey. And I'm
Yeah, we
like,
do, yeah.
let him coach, get away
But
from
that was-
there.
I thought it was-
Of course, everybody's kind of
So,
like,
I
"See, I'm not
don't
supposed to
know
get
if he's got his binder here.
And so I'm kind of dragging home me, so you
Yeah, I
can
was
do
wild
more
with
things,
that one.
more worried about what's going on behind there. So.
I thought it was funny.
He said that.
I-
Because
Because, well, yeah, you know, you could have made a choice and just.
When you said about animal products and things, you did mention the words, I thought you
Well,
mentioned
the
red
best
peas.
part of it is.
Once and I'm like, what are you gonna do with every color?
It's here, it's going, they're high-fiving each other and
I
based
think
on.
the animals
Every
near
coach
the
has to go
facility
back and
are
do
getting
that.
stuff
Yeah,
on
Yeah,
there.
so
But no,
that's
he
what it
didn't.
said.
Yes,
Always
it's awesome.
size.
Like, it is for me.
The animal
On one
ones.
side,
Like, listening to Justin
The first
Bauer
half,
talk
you
about
talked about how great it was. and everything that he did.
Then I went and watched that. and I went,
He never said that we should have did it loud.
Okay.
And then do this, but then the government did license.
Yeah.
Calgary Environment had a problem. They said something about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Heartfelt congratulations. That sure looks like heartfelt
Oh,
congratulations.
yeah.
So, Mr. Council Olson, it's a good thing you opened it, because Council Kroll, he wasn't gonna open it until somebody else opened it. 'Cause
Oh,
he was
it's-
scared what was in it,
It's
so.
pretty thrilling.
Yeah.
That's sarcasm.
Yeah.
Is that a
It's such
passport?
It's
tiny.
white powder free. You never know.
I like the way you blew it my way. I will remember that.
There you go.
Pretty cool,
It's hard to
because
get it on there.
they're gonna host us at their suite in November and they give us the card in December.
Yeah.
That's good. Anybody go to their suite?
No,
No.
definitely not.
I go on, well, you must have all got one around them too. didn't you?
Yeah. Okay, call back into order. We are at 9.1. Operating and capital budget. Everybody's had a chance to cruise through that. We need a motion that adopts the 2022 operating capital budget dated December 14, 2021 as presented, and accept the 2023 and 2024 operating budgets and the 2023 to 2026 capital budgets for information. Counselor Campion.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'll just, I'm not gonna go through this. We've spent three good meetings going through this. Just, I guess for the public, we did start initially with just under $500,000 deficit. Working through it with council, we have a balanced budget with the draw of 16,318 from surplus. And we have a balanced budget as we move forward. So lots of reallocated, moved to different years. But all in all, I think a good process. And we will bring back a revised budget in May prior to setting the tax rate with any changes. We'll know our assessment, we'll know all our requisitions. If there's anything that's changed between now and then, we can make an adaptation at that point in time and move forward prior to setting the tax rate. So if council approves this budget, we will certainly, the budget document will go on our website, so it will be available for public to peruse. The other thing we try to do in our newsletter that will be coming up in January is pull a lot of this background stuff into the newsletter so that residents, if they read the newsletter, are aware of some of the monies that's spent, how it's spent, on what projects and where that's all out. And certainly try to be as transparent as we can be by putting it on the website and encouraging people, if they have questions or concerns, to certainly speak to council, speak to myself, and certainly try and do our best to explain the process and how we move through. So I hope, Mr. Mayor, I believe we've captured all of the changes, all of the discussions over the last few meetings, and what you have before you reflects those meetings. I guess if there's any questions or concerns in the information there, I'll do my best to answer them.
As I said, it was kind of blurry coming home from the Grey Cup, but I got through most of it. Looked pretty much what we discussed. So, any other comments, questions?
I guess the main thing, if you're talking to residents, one of their number one questions always is taxes. So certainly at this point in time, you should feel very confident to tell them that there is a zero increase to the municipal tax portion collected. I caution you to say that there's a 0% tax increase, because based on assessment, if your assessment went up more than somebody else did, or didn't go down as somebody, you might see a tax increase to you, but overall we're collecting the same amount of taxes from our residents as we did in 2021. So
run that by me again.
So we need to collect, and I don't have the.
Well, I realize that we have a set number to collect.
We have to collect that, so we collected based on assessments, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's property is assessed, has a value, but in some situations, for whatever reason, maybe the assessed value of your property goes up 3%, and the average is a 0 or a 1, or even a minus. So based on that, you may see a tax increase to yourself based on your assessment, but generally that's pretty limited.
Yeah.
And it would be based on whether you've done something special to your place or to your property to increase the value of it. So more than what the average would do. So hope that helps.
Yep.
It gets a little clear when we do the tax rate, and then you see how that's all formulated and factored in. So,
Any other questions, comments?
My head's exploded through most of this, but I'm confident it's good.
It's nice come May, generally administration will bring, and it'll be our own properties. It'll have all of our properties as samples that shows tax rate before and then tax rate.
Okay.
And with your new assessment, and it's such trivial changes generally.
yeah. And unfortunately, you don't get a lot of praise, or you don't get a lot of comments from people. Thank you, my taxes were the same, or thank you, my taxes went down. Goes the other way, you'll hear about it. So no, I do, as I said in the budget meeting, I do want to thank you guys for your patience and time to go through it. It is a lot, especially the first go round for any counselor, and don't feel bad that it is blurry and it was quick. It'll come to you, and as I say, if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to see me, so.
Okay, all in favor of the motion? Carried. 9.02. Proposal for real estate services. Sorry, back where it was. Recommended motion that Chief Administrator Office be authorized to extend an agreement with Mark Aubin and Associate Aubin, correct?
Yeah.
And Associates to provide real estate services to the town of Hanna as per their proposed date, November 27, 2020, effective immediately for a term ending on December 31st, 2022. Motion.
Sure.
Councilor Olson. Discussion.
So just some background, Mr. Mayor. So as it says, since 2015, we've had various local realtors provide their services, their marketing abilities. In 2020, we went out and shared the proposal to all 4 local realtors. And we only received the one proposal from Mark Aubin and Associates, which is the local agent is Todd Wallace. So we worked with Todd this last year, been satisfied with our work with Todd and the work he's done for us. I know everybody wants, Fielding Place lots to sell and want him to sell them. It's just not happening right at the moment, but Todd, we worked well with Todd. I was pleased to work with Todd. And in this past year, I haven't had any requests from any of the local realtors to step back in or want to know when they can get back in. So I'm just recommend that for that reason and the reason that the agreement allowed us to extend it by a year. And we've been satisfied working with Mr. Wallace that we would recommend that we extend it for another year.
Again, was it shown that it was coming due again, like on?
No, we didn't promote, Councilor Kent, we
it
didn't
in the
promote
paper.
anywhere that it was due if anybody's interested in it. And again, it's not a big lucrative event. Basically, if there's 4% commission on the property, and if that's someone, two realtors involved is 2% each. So unfortunately, with Mr. Wallace, he's been involved with the marketing and selling of a couple small tax recovery properties, so it hasn't been lucrative to date, and the town doesn't have any real lucrative properties to sell at the moment with that there would be a large commission generated. Mr. Wallace has been good because we have sold a couple of properties, just basically administration and the purchaser, and Todd's been fine with not having commission on it. So just people it's people who've not gone through Todd or not noticed Todd had it listed what was town property, and some of them weren't even listed. For example, we sold 2 lots to Anchor Glass this year that had been leased to Anchor Glass. So and GFL, we worked with GFL to purchase that without Mr. Wallace being involved. So we've been happy with the services provided, and I know he's already got some signs out on the properties that we've just taken over through demolition process. So he will, if council approves this, he plans to refresh the listings again in January 1st. He said there's no use doing it now. He'd wait till January 1 and refresh all the listings again. So.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion? Carried. 9.03. council authorized chief administrative officer to enter a memorandum of agreement with the town of Hanna and the District Association of Lifelong Learning, operating as the Hanna Learning Center to allow the Hanna Business Hub to provide management and operation services of the information center for the 2022 to 2024 seasons. Motion. Councilor Olson. Discussion.
So, Mr. Mayor, I know the existing council, or the previous council was here on when we entered into this agreement with the Learning Center in January, February of 2021. As far as the town's concerned, we were pleased with the services they provided at the Visitors Information Center in terms of dealing with tourists, in terms of feeding people ice cream and the stuff they pop out there for. They did expand on the service to what we did. They operated into mid-October, caught more of the senior tourists, caught more of the hunters, that group. They also extrapolated a little bit and did a little more work with some of our local businesses to be able to sell products there. So we were pleased with their service there, and they were pleased with their time there, and they provided their report on how their summer went, and just think that there's a fit there. And from our perspective, it saves the town money, and they provide a good service. So they're recommending, last year was a trial for 1 year. They're recommending they want to move forward with a 3-year agreement. So I'm recommending that, Mr. Mayor, and we certainly will have discussions through the season at the end of each season to see if there's anything that didn't work, we weren't happy with, but we were pleased with the service they provided. So I think it was pretty seamless. I don't think people even really knew whether it was the town or whether it was the business hub out there. They got served, they were treated well, and they were happy. So.
They did do a bumper yard sale or whatever it's called.
Yeah, they moved one of their downtown markets out there. And I think the second one they did got canceled, I think, with the weather. But
That's one.
We just had a meeting today with the Harvest Sky, and they've got a tourism coordinator that is going to be looking at a few more things regarding that. So it's kind of exciting to see that they're working on doing more and more coordination with other parties and that sort of thing. So sounds quite exciting.
Any other discussion? Favor? Carried. 9.04. Council approves the appointment of Elaine Johnston to the Hanna Library Board for a 3-year term ending October 31st, 2024. Need a motion. Council Murphy, discussion.
don't have much background here. Obviously, we had a vacancy there. This lady is new to town, has stepped forward on the Community Services Board and been appointed, and put her name forward to sit on the Hanna Library Board. The board, as you can see in the attachments, have recommended that she be appointed. So we're following that appointment and move forward. I think that brings the library board very close to full capacity. So
just a note, she also sits on the community services board with us, so
yeah,
she seems to be very community oriented.
Yeah, very nice. I met her last night at the library board.
okay.
I'll make that.
Or did we?
We already-
Councilor Murphy already.
Councilor Murphy.
I'll just reinforce.
I'll get you next time.
Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. Don't do that to me, Steph.
I'm sorry.
I'm just getting into the swing of things. 9.05 Centennial Place sponsorship agreements. Recommended motion that council authorize mayor and chief administrative officer to enter into a sponsorship agreement between the town of Hanna and Heartland Generation Limited to provide Heartland Generation with the naming rights for the entrance welcoming into the hub into Centennial Place located at 501B 3rd Street West, contingent on $100,000, including GST contribution to the town of Hanna, $20,000, including GST per year for a 5-year term, effective November 15th, 2021, ending this November 14th, 2026. Discussion motion. Oh, everybody wants that one. Counselor Bowden.
So, Mr. Mayor, I know the previous council would have been aware of that, so this is a significant contribution to our community from a, company in the area, so it's very much appreciated. The highlights of the agreement, basically, as you know, it's for 5 years. It's for the entrance hub. That's where they'll have their signage. That's where they'll be promoted and have been. It is $100,000, including GST, $20,000 per year. Either party can terminate the agreement, and if terminated, the payment would then be prorated to how many months they've been into that year. The other benefit for Heartland is their employees and retired employees and their families can receive a membership discount of 20%. And the Centennial Place will be provided free of charge for their annual Heartland Family Christmas Party, which with COVID, we haven't even had their annual party. So we haven't even been able to use it the last two years. So we're very pleased to bring this forward, Mr. Mayor. It's a great contribution from a good corporate citizen. So certainly helps.
It's refreshing.
Certainly helps the bottom line.
Any other discussion?
Their sign is beautiful. Just saying.
No bias.
Who did that for though? All in favor? Carry.
Fred.
Next is bylaw, 10.01, bylaw 1023-21, municipal public utilities amendment. Motion is the council give first reading to the 1023-21 and 22 municipal public utilities amended bylaw.
Got to vote on, this is our
Yeah.
the first one, Mr. Mayor, so
I
we
got
gotta vote on each one.
Yeah.
So,
Motion,
Yeah.
Councilor Campion.
All
All right.
so Mr. Mayor, before you vote, and I'll give you the spiel up front and not for second and third, but basically through the MGA, we're required to set our rates through bylaw. And because the only change we do have to our utility rates is the increase in the charge from the commission. So the commission's fee from 289 to 294 per cubic meter is the amendment to this bylaw. So
Anything else?
I'll just speak to that, Mr. Mayor. What it is in our operating plan put together by MPE, that's what we did. We raised it usually 5 cents per year. Whatever operating costs and things like that. So that's the reason for the increase. We'll be looking at it again in the next year, because I think the plan we had expires at the end of this year. And the rate thing.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
you're in favor or you're opposed?
I'm
Counselor?
opposed.
You're opposed?
Again, that.
Okay.
Second motion, give second reading to the bylaw 1023-21, the 22 municipal public utilities amended bylaw. Motion, Councilor Olson. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Opposed, hands.
She voted.
I didn't see it. Carried. For the third, we need unanimous, correct?
Yeah, the next motion is that unanimous
Yeah.
consent.
The council provide unanimous consent for the third reading of bylaw 1023-2021. The 2022 Municipal Public Utilities Amendment bylaw at this meeting. All in favor?
Who made the motion?
Sorry, Councilor Kroll.
Made the motion, yeah.
So just, this is, I'm not sure if you heard this through your Muni 101 training, but
You didn't talk about this at all.
when you are going to pass a bylaw, some bylaws you can't in one sitting in one night. There could be, generally those are ones that involve land where there needs to be public hearings and public hearing before you can give second and third reading. But there is the ability to provide 3 readings to bylaws. They need to have unanimous consent. So around this table, if there's unanimous consent, that allows council to move forward to give it third reading this evening. If there was a councillor who was opposed to unanimous consent, the second reading stops. You're done at second reading, and then third reading would be brought back to future meeting.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Third and final, the council. The council. Okay, Councilor Campion. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Council reports, roundtables. Everybody got a chance to read through the reports? The motion of council accepts council reports for information. Councilor Warwick, discussion.
So, Mr. Mayor, it's up to council. In the past, councils went around the table, seeing if there's anything to add to their report. If you wanted to, you could just leave it open. If there's anybody who has anything to add to their report, they could put their hand up and speak to it. And or if anybody has any questions of anybody's report, they can put their hands up and speak to it. So,
Councilor Kroll, you're number one, buddy.
He's flipping.
he's trying to find what he's got down. So did you provide a report? Councilor Crowe? Okay.
No, I'm just going through some. The only thing I've got to say, we have a meeting at the Hanna Medical Clinic tomorrow morning at 8:30, and that's my first meeting with them and everything else. So it'll be kind of more of an introduction and election officials, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck. Councilor Murphy.
Yes, my report, I omitted one of my gajillion meetings that I attended, and it should be on record. So I do want to apologize for missing it. And that is November 27th. I attended a Marigold Library meeting via Zoom. And again, head exploding. It's going to get better, I know, but I have had 12 meetings and I'm, all over the place, but they're wonderful. I'm loving every one of them.
Councilor Campion.
Just tomorrow night, I have a big country waste meeting. Alternate Mr. Kroll's gonna sit in with me. It's gonna be Zoom, and I expect to be nominated as chair on the meeting.
Congratulations, our condolences. Councilor Warwick.
Yes, as stated in my report, all the meetings that I have
Yes, you too.
partaken in the last while, some were canceled and rescheduled. The one of significance, just one point of reference that I would make is the one that I sat in this morning with Harvest Sky Economic Development. we passed a motion today with the Equine Business Center to prepare the documentation to take it to the public for public input in the new year. So we just, I guess that's where we just want to get the word out there on a go forward basis. We want to have public input at that time and form a committee and try to move forward at some level with the Equine Business Center.
So at Harvest Sky today, did you guys do election of officers?
Yes, we did. It was just basically, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just curious because I knew you have, I believe, four new members of 7. Okay.
Sorry, Councilor Warwick. I'll let you continue.
I was just curious as to who the new chairman is.
Who the new chair is. We've elected the previous vice chair as chair for Debbie Laughlin.
Okay.
For the intern. We have Justin Griffith from Safford and Mark Blair from Youngstown. Our new.
In addition to DeRay,
Yes.
Dino, and Archie
DeRay
Reps.
And yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Council Olson.
I guess the only thing to add, Palliser Regional Municipal Services, just had emails back and forth. A member of the executive and signing authority there, due to meeting the great qualifications of physically closest to their office. So I was proud of that. Yeah, I haven't had a meeting for the executive there yet, and I suspect it won't happen till the new year now as things roll in. But yeah, nothing else to add to the report.
Council Bowden.
I attended the meeting this morning as well with Harvest Sky, and yeah, it was exciting to see that that's moving forward for the agriculture center and stuff. And hopefully there can be somebody that will step up and want to kind of run with it, or to be a lead on the
Be the
project.
champion.
Yeah, basically. So I believe they're going to be meeting sometime in the new year as far as having a community engagement and with some invitations for some specific individuals that may have been involved in the past, and look forward with that. There was also a couple other projects that were approved that we had gotten the information on and such. So that was the key one, I believe. So lots of things going on and interesting things in the next couple of years. That's all.
My turn. I went to the chamber meeting. They've got a lot of different rods in the fire, for lack of a better term. I sat and listened for the first probably 50 minutes of it. And so I felt the need to reach out and instead of having all these great ideas, to pick a couple and move forward with them. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to accomplish with being on the chamber. Instead of having ideas, is actually implementing some of them and moving forward. So I didn't get booed out of the meeting, first of all, so that was a positive. And other than that, I thank you for all you guys' work you've done with the various committees and stuff. And sounds like we got a lot of really good things coming up. The chamber's Christmas party was canceled. They had 14 sold tickets, and it kind of goes back to my first newsletter, for lack of a better. The division over COVID is alive and well, and it's kind of disheartening at times with people drawing lines in the sand, but they did give it a whirl. We put it out there 2 or 3 times after the meeting, letting people know. Unfortunately, I wouldn't have been able to attend. I was going to the Grey Cup, but it's still there. They're still beating on the drum, trying to keep stuff going. So that being said, all in favor of council reports? Carried. Correspondence. Council accept correspondence items 12.01 to 12.10 for information. Motion. Council Campion.
I don't know, Mr. Mayor, I don't believe in the correspondence, there's anything that jumps out at me to spend any additional time on, but unless there's something that council noticed that you wanted to have discussion on.
I was curious about the City of Cold Lake letter as to why it was sent here.
You'll
Perhaps
find,
That's normal.
I can't say why, you'll find, maybe find Councilor Murphy, City of Cold Lake tends to be one that whenever they are sending letters to ministers, that they copy everybody.
Well, that's inclusive. That's a good thing.
That is
Yeah.
inclusive, but if you read their CCs, Alberta Municipalities and
I saw
Rural
that.
Municipalities Association. So they probably sent out 300 copies of this letter to everyone. And I guess in today's world, by sending it by email, it's not costing them anything. It's once they've got there and they have a good database up, they've
Yeah,
got
they do.
that, they send it out. Previous council got a lot on some specific issues where municipalities were sending copying to all, but it seems that the City of Cold Lake tends to bring a lot forward. I guess the way they operate, so.
I am impressed by the fact that they're working so hard to try to ensure that they have quality.
Yeah, definitely.
Quality medical
Yeah.
staff.
For those that don't know it, Craig Copeland, the mayor, is the head biologist kind of thing with Alberta Fish and Wildlife.
Oh,
So he comes down and he does a lot of testing, and that he ran that operation thing at Blood Indian last, when they did the fish study. It was in the summer, wasn't it, Kim?
yeah, that was,
I believe,
was it
Yeah.
this summer or last summer?
and that's who he is.
Okay,
That's-
very good.
I don't know if that's the reason why everybody gets the letter, but that's who he is anyway.
Any other discussion of correspondence? All in favor? Carried.
So, Mr. Mayor, before we move into closed session and staff leave, it's been awkward time trying to recognize Adrian and Gwen for their services. This is their last regular official council meeting. It's hard to follow Adrian's act, and I don't have a speech like he does, but I did want to just publicly thank both Adrian and Gwen for their service. I think they both came on almost the same time,
Just about, yeah.
pretty close,
In a
so.
couple of months.
Few months.
So they have been great employees, dedicated to the organization and wanting the best for their organization and willing to help wherever they can to make the organization a good organization. So we will definitely miss their presence in the, especially those two in this building, because they've been in this building. And as Adrian said, we try and create a family atmosphere, and I think we have, and certainly from our perspective, we will wish them well in their retirement, but we also encourage them to come by and visit, come by and have
Coffee's free,
coffee,
I'm in.
come by and
Oh, you haven't seen the last of me yet.
come by and visit. So I do want to thank you. Normal COVID times, we would probably have some sort of get together, which would involve some food and would involve some laughs and some jokes and telling stories and that, but not sure. Possibly, maybe you could have a drink or two, Mr. Camping, but we're just not in that time right now. So I'm hoping, we will get an opportunity to do that and be able to invite, council, spouses, staff, and be able to give them a proper send off for their time here. Hopefully that's sooner than later. But we'll worry through that as we keep moving through the COVID stuff, to be able to do that. So I just wanted to thank both of you for your time and your effort, and wish you well. And on behalf of staff, we certainly appreciate it. I've been able to work with you about half the time you were here. So, and I've certainly appreciated your assistance and your loyalty to the organization and to me. So thank you very much.
Hey, I guess I would like to echo, again, my time is very short with you, but like I said, I've dealt with both of you over the years, and from my standpoint, it was very positive with the odd hiccup here and there, and then that's fine. That's what it's about, right? But yeah, from myself and the rest of the staff, our council, I mean, thank you, and you leave some holes that I'm not saying we're gonna fill, but we're gonna plaster a little bit.
We're gonna try to.
We'll see how good we had it.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah. Okay, that being said, I guess we gotta go into a closed session.